Oh, did this microphone just not work this whole time? Do I just want to go kill myself right now because this microphone was off the whole time? Should I just start over? No. We're here. We're here in the episode. So I just did a whole bunch of material that you didn't hear, which is cool. I'm glad you didn't hear it. But that is for me to decide and you to get on your way with. But I was talking about how I was in this hardware store and I was trying to find one of those things called, it's one of those, well, I was building a birdhouse and I needed something to build the birdhouse with. And I don't like to use hammers and nails because I think they're dangerous. You can hurt yourself with it. And I was looking, I just like to use super glue. So I get some popsicle sticks, I'll super glue those sticks together. But I need one of those things that clamp it together. I keep forgetting the name of those things. Vise, that's what it is. It's a vise. So I went into the hardware store and I asked the guy, hey, do you have any vices? And he goes, yeah, Coke and pussy. Hey everybody, welcome to the Human Variety Hour. That was the longest rim shot they make. I went all out and I spent the most money on the extra expensive rim shot. So that's that'll be, I'm gonna get as much use out of that as I can. I feel like I got a mouthful of marbles right now, and I don't know how to get rid of them. I'm just trying to demarbleize my mouth. I'm a little humiliated that my microphone was off, and I just spoke to myself in my kitchen for a long time. I don't know what you heard and what you didn't hear. I don't know what my neighbors heard. They probably heard everything, and they think this guy's crazy. But, we're all just kind of hanging out, just knowing that we're here. I'm almost like, I want to go say the thing that I didn't get to say, but maybe you heard it, but I don't think you did. CVS is not a safe place to go right now. CVS, you remember how when 9/11 happened, or anytime there's like a terrorist attack, they have like security guards that are extra precautious. I remember back when the Boston Marathon bomb happened, when you went down to the train, they had this lockdown, and basically every train station, every subway had like military guys with machine guns. I'm like, hey, can I go to the subway and not be fearing that there's some kind of a coup d'etat happening? Can I go take the train downtown without worrying about whether or not there's a Contra happening? I just don't want to be involved in a civil war or any kind of a conflict while I'm just trying to take the subway to go have a casual experience. I don't need to have myself reminded of the horrors of war that are constantly about us. So we're in a space where we're just trying to have a good time here. We're just trying to make the most out of some mashed potatoes. We have a little bit of a crisis happening, and we're trying to stay indoors and not act like it's terrible. But it's kind of a little bit terrible, not to be a bearer of bad news there. But we're hanging out here. I'm going to play our theme song, Kick It.
We'll return after these messages.
Sponsored by the Campbell Soup Company, for over a century making products that are good for America. Tonight, sponsoring brands are Campbell's Condensed Soups, Mrs. Paul's Fish Products, and Prego Spaghetti Sauce.
Soup is a harvest of nourishment.
How did you get so wet?
I'm not very wet.
Not very wet. Go ahead and eat your soup while it's nice and hot. It's your favorite Campbell's tomato. You eat all that soup and maybe you'll be okay.
You're more likely to get sick when your resistance is down. A balanced diet that includes nutritious foods like Campbell's soup can help keep your resistance up.
Mom. Do you still love me anymore?
Oh.
Soup is good food.
It's naturally high in protein, naturally low in calories, and just plain good for you. And now it's coated with real oven-baked breadcrumbs for a taste that's crispier than ever before. Introducing Mrs. Paul's new crispier, crunchier fish sticks and fillets. When was the last time your kids had fun eating something this good?
Come on.
Mrs. Paul's. It tastes good because it is good.
Great tasting Bellamy.
You've never tasted a mint like this.
Breathtaking Bellamy.
You've never felt fresher.
So cool and fresh. They take your breath away.
Like a breath of fresh mountain air, the Bellaman's taste comes through cool and clear, refreshing you, refreshing your breath like no other mint. For great taste and cool refreshment, there's nothing like Bellaman.
Breathtaking Bellamy.
Great taste.
Bellamy's. Soup is a harvest of
Hello, stranger. No date tonight?
Negative. I'm just gonna go out and grab something to eat.
Well, how about staying home for a decent meal with your mother? Got something different you might like. Home-style chicken noodle soup.
Super. How'd you make it so good?
Campbell helped me out. They put in all these goodies. Nice little noodles, real pieces of chicken, parsley, carrot, celery, and seasoned it up real good.
And you heated it up all by yourself?
Eat your soup.
Soup is good food.
You guys like soup? We got soup for you. Right now, we could all use a cup of soup. We are, as that advertisement where that mom was mean to her child said, we need that resistance. We need some of that resistance juice. Campbell's is that resistance juice, which right now is the only type of resistance I think we have, because our man with the plan left us, which is such a bummer. We had Bernie on our side, and then he's like, you know what, guys? I am not doing this anymore. It's like, what, Bernie? We were like having such a good time, and you're like you lost some steam, or you lost some spirit or something. It's like Bernie sent us like a 4 a.m. email, which was kind of like 7 paragraphs of the hope and the message, and it's basically like an email version of like Funkmaster Flex, or that, what's that song? It's like The Jungle, The Message. You know what I'm talking about? I'm asking you, sir, or ma'am, or people who are in the audience of this invisible space we are in. We're all floating in a space of white, of just absolute neutrality. We're all just together in this blanket of nothingness, floating without any concept of time or space or equilibrium. But while we are here, we are taking stock of the bullshit that's happening around us. We have a bit of a pandemic happening. Just a tiny bit of a pandemic is going on. And the whole world's orders are saying, stay indoors. At the same time, the person who was going to be there to provide all that health care to everybody is also staying indoors. So we're basically like, oh, I kind of thought the reason, the things that were terrible in this world that could be solved by just a very logical, obvious candidate who has all the easy answers to all the difficult problems that nobody up in political land wants to deal with, that's the guy that walked out. Yeah, and sometimes I feel like it's like a jungle. Sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. I'm stalling for time while I'm looking for something on Spotify. Will you bear with me while I do that? This is the type of email that you would get from Bernie.
It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise. Got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back. Junkies in the alley with a baseball bat. I tried to get away, but I couldn't get far. Cause a man with a tow truck repossessed my car. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Standing on the front stoop, hanging out the window, watching all the cars go by, roaring as the breezes blow. A crazy lady living in a bag, eating out of garbage pails. Used to be a fag hag, such a dance to tango. Skipped the life and dango. A zircon princess seemed to lost her senses. Down at the peep show, watching all the creeps, so she could tell her stories to the girls back home. She went to the city and got so diddy. She had to get a pimp, she couldn't make it on her own. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
My brother's doing fast on my mother's TV. Says she watches too much, it's just not healthy. All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night. Can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight. The bill collectors, they ring my phone and scare my wife when I'm not home. Got a bum education, double-digit inflation. Can't take the train to the job, there's a strike at the station. Neon King Kong standing on my back, can't stop to turn around. Broke my sacroiliac, a mid-range migraine, cancer membrane. Sometimes I think I'm going insane, I swear I might hijack a plane. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. My son said, Daddy, I don't want to go to school cause the teacher's a jerk. He must think I'm a fool and all the kids smoke reefer. I think it'd be cheaper if I just got a job, learn to be a street sweeper. I dance to the beat, shuffle my feet, wear a shirt and tie and run with the creeps. Cause it's all about money, ain't a damn thing funny. You got to have a con in this land of milk and honey. They pushed that girl in front of the train, took her to the doctor, sewed her arm on again. Stabbed that man right in his heart. Gave him a transplant for a brand new start. I can't walk through the park cause it's crazy after dark. Keep my hand on my gun cause they got me on the run. I feel like an outlaw, broke my last glass jaw. Hear them say, you want some more? Living on a seesaw. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Say what? It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through. You'll grow in the ghetto, living second rate, and your eyes will sing a song of deep hate. The places you play and where you stay looks like one great big alleyway. You'll admire all the number book takers, thugs, pimps, and pushers, and the big money makers, driving big cars, spending 20s and 10s, and you wanna grow up to be just like them. Smugglers, scramblers, burglars, gamblers, pickpocket peddlers, even panhandlers. You say I'm cool, I'm no fool, but then you wind up dropping out of high school. Now you're unemployed, all non-void, walking around like your pretty boy Floyd. Turned stick-up kid, but look what you done did. Got sent up for an 8-year bid. Now your manhood is took and you're a make tag. Spend the next 2 years as an undercover fag, being used and abused to serve like hell. Till one day you was found hung dead in the cell. It was plain to see that your life was lost. You was cold and your body swung back and forth. But now your eyes sing the sad, sad song of how you live so fast and die so young. So don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Yo, Mel, you see that girl, man? Yeah, man. Yo, that sound like Cowboy, man. Cool. Yo, what's up, money? Yo. Hey, where's Field and Raheem, man? They upstairs cooling out. So what's up for the night, y'all?
Yo, we can go down to Fever, man.
We'll check out Junebug, man. Hey, yo, you know that girl Betty? Yeah, man. My mom got robbed, man. Not what? Again, she got hurt. When did this happen? When did this happen?
Fire free. Don't nobody move nothing. Y'all know what this is. Get him up. Get him up.
Yo, man, we down with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
What is that, a gang? Shut up. I don't want to hear you up now. Shut up.
Officer, what's the problem?
Ain't no you the problem. You the problem. Yo, you ain't got to get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the gas. I said get in the car.
That's the sound of Joe Biden stealing the election. Ah, man, aren't you angry? Aren't you upset that, fucking the man stepping in here take everybody's shit? We almost had it. We almost had it in the bag. This world had everything ready to give to... America was so ready to have some healthcare and some socialistic ideas that could bring us on page with the rest of the world, where we start giving a shit about our fellow neighbor, where we try to help people who are struggling instead of just letting them fend for themselves. Big Daddy Biden's going to come in here, and he's going to, with his brain damage and all, is going to, he probably can't even see 7/10 of anybody. Like, he probably has this gap in his brain where he's like, I can make out 30% of a crowd, the rest are invisible to my cognitive abilities. So it's no wonder he's going to neglect poor people and people of underrepresented communities. He's just going to be like, business as usual. I'm going to go back to not caring. I'm just in here because I have a suit. I know how to deal with some high-level shit, but I also got a little bit of brain damage. Just a little bit. Just a little taste. Just a little smudge of that kind of stuff. But I like to see it this way. There's these news stories happening where basically Trump is like, I'm not going to wear a mask because he's like brave or some shit. But then Biden's like, I will wear a mask. But when it comes down to it, both of these guys are looking society in the face and saying, which one of us do you want to not have give a shit? The blue one that doesn't give a shit or the red one that doesn't give a shit? They also both have brain damage. They also are both Ronald Reagan type archetypes where there's a pandemic going on and they're not taking it seriously. Where the most obvious thing is to say, shut down the presses, give everybody health care. Amazon came up with a quick way to produce hand sanitizer overnight. We could do that with some masks and some gloves and some shit if the government took life seriously, as opposed to some kind of a pageantry of careerism. But I'm trying not to think about politics, but it's kind of very hard to not think about politics, because all we can do is stay indoors and try to entertain ourselves, but also we have to pull our heads out of our own asses and every now and again get some fresh oxygen, see what's happening in the world outside of distractions. And the things that are happening in the world are nothing quickly. But there is something that's happening here. You know, China and Italy have managed to stave off the number of deaths related to the pandemic. Where are we at? All I see is a president that goes, China, China, China. Meanwhile, China is acting quickly and functionally, and their economy is booming. We have like millions of unemployed people all of a sudden overnight because of this government, which is it's unacceptable. We need to be a different country. That's just what it comes down to. I don't get why we need to be two countries. The dumb one and the not dumb one that says, yep, socialism makes a lot of sense. Makes sense that Canada has 3 different liberal parties, and the most conservative party is our Democratic Party. It's even a little more liberal than that. It doesn't make sense why we aren't like, hey, we can learn from other people, and we realize that the most successful society has adequate health care and education is provided by default to its people. And then you can go on to be a pirate or a Viking like warrior in like baseball and football. I saw this on TV. You know, a long time ago, the NHL had already basically banned. They closed down. They stopped doing hockey for a little bit. The NBA and the NHL were both there, and they're like, "Yep, we're gonna not have this sport exist for a while, and that's gonna send a message to our government that says, hey, remember how these sports that are everything, that are kind of ubiquitous in society, regardless of region, we're just pausing, just to let you know that we're looking at stuff, we're pointing at shit." Meanwhile, the NFL, like only a week ago, was like, "Stay indoors. We should stay indoors." By the way, the fact that the NFL is the one saying that, I don't think there's any place less safe for a spouse of an NFL player than being indoors. So I think that is I don't know. I think coronavirus is safer than a football player's significant other when it comes to staying indoors. Man. Papa John's got a new app. Y'all excited for Papa John's? They got an app. NFL, brought to you by Papa John's, the leader of making sure their employees do not have health care. They recently introduced an app and a advertisement campaign that is like, yep, we make pizzas and we make sure our workers do not touch those pizzas. If they touch them, we will fire them so hard. We will take away even more of their whatever they have. I don't know. If you're working for Papa John at this point, I don't know. There's probably, I bet all Papa John related activities happening like in an undeveloped country. Like all the pizzas that are being assembled for Papa John's are the same places where iPhones are being assembled. There's just some factory in some impoverished area, and they're like, can you guys whip up like 70,000 pizzas and make sure they're hot and make sure they stay hot while they fly over to America for 17 hours in a plane? We have these heat insulating bags just to make sure that slave labor does produce these pizzas well and under cost. Don't eat Papa John's. If I were to have an anti-sponsor, it would be Papa John's. Don't eat Papa John's. I wish they had anti-commercials. Like, just people going on TV saying, don't buy this. It's awful. They do horrible things. They do not take care of their employees. So, hi. My name is Mama Sue. I don't know what the opposite of Papa John's is. My name is Uncle Tim. Hi, my name is Papa June. I'm Papa June, not to be confused with Papa John. Don't eat Papa John. It's hateful. If there could ever be a pizza that symbolized hatred, it would be Papa John's. Official sponsor of the one sport where domestic abuse is not handled efficiently or in a way that's responsible. Domestic abuse. And the new Papa John's app. So where was I? Yeah, so that song that was as relevant today as it was when it came out shows how little changes in 2 periods of time. But it shows us that we've always needed, and we do need, some radical change that improves societies that are continuing to be swept under the carpet. And now more than ever, we know that's happening. And now more than ever, it's still not being changed. People are still clutching on so desperately to the thing they feel familiar. Like, oh, we know who Joe Biden is. He doesn't know who Joe Biden is. But we know who he is. We've seen him on TV, so that's enough. And he was also the vice president of that cool black guy. So that's enough. That's enough on my part. I think we've settled it. I think, no, this guy, look at everything. He voted to cut Social Security. I mean, he's always had conservative views up until he got kind of held accountable for it. He's basically the male version of Hillary. Hillary is the... I'm not talking about this. This is not something to dig back into. But it's basically the idea of like, people who spoke up saying we want to have Hillary instead of Bernie were people that were like, you don't want a woman in office? Are you sexist? That's, another man. But then we have another person roll around who's basically an even white malier version of Hillary. And they're like, let's choose this one over Bernie. And it's like, well, now you're not even hiding your bullshit. The person that would have helped people and you tried to cloak it as a sexist argument, now you have another older man with even less cognitive ability who is an equal analogy of somebody who had completely conservative views up until about 2 years ago, when it was politically pragmatic to change those views to get a job with a Democrat. That's really all it comes down to. But Bernie is no more radical than every other part of the world that have been countries way longer than America has. Like, we're talking about worldly wisdom versus cowboy American naivete. So the people who are conservative Americans are people who are holding on to something so desperately because I think it's such a pillar of who we are. But who we are is only 200 years old. That's a short amount of time compared to the centuries, the deep existence of Asia, of Europe, the countries that we spun off of, we are the Frasier of the world's Cheers. And people are like, no, man, we gotta have Frasier Crane. You know, that's one of the classics. But it's like, man, you ain't nobody until you got Norm in that bar. He's the one who's making sure everybody has health care. And he's been doing it since the 80s. What, Frasier came out, what, in 1994? I don't know. I don't watch... Those shows are a little dusty. But I think there's a lot of things that have not changed. And it's the idea of, hey, it's easy to let things stay the same and hurt people because it doesn't hurt me. But also what's always been the same is people who say, no, just bear with a little bit of a social change and make sure everybody has some shit. Let this country transform. And people are like, no, I like this country when it's made out of felt. I don't like switching over to nylon. I want the burlap country. I don't want the silk country. Those materials are different. I like the material that has some grit to it, that has some legacy to it. It's like, man, don't you know one of them is more breathable? All right, here's a song that was written back when the world was still terrible. That's a wrong rhythm. For that. It's been a fuck of a day. is so goddamn funny about peace, love, and understanding, why can't we have good things? Why can't we have the people in charge that would make it so people would struggle less and hurt less? Who have the most obvious sensibilities about how to repair systematic failings. And it seemed we were just at the precipice of people getting why it was necessary. The healthcare system was broken, proven by a pandemic where nobody was prepared. And if all that shit was there from the get-go, if all those hospitals were well-funded and just ready to receive people, hey, sounds a lot like what goes on in Denmark or Norway or Sweden or every other developed country but America. But no, we want to be like this weird little garage sale of a health system. And then meanwhile, it's like, hey, let's do this. Let's have like the slickest banks. Let's have like militaries where like they're wearing like the shiniest Jordans. I want military people to have hoverboards. I want to have the military be the Green Goblin. I want Green Goblins in the military. I want that much money to be there for that. And when you need to go to the doctor, I want it to be a flea market. That's what society keeps saying over and over again when it keeps voting for the do-nothings that do nothing. Except develop dementia. But they have the charm of Ronald Reagan, and that's all people ever want is just some charming bullshit. You know what's charming? My ass.
We have to take a station break.
And what? And what else?
And sell some more oranges.
Look, here is the new Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick. It sticks better than any other bandage. The proof? Take a dry egg at room temperature. Touch the egg with any other bandage. Brand X, brand Y, brand Z. Not one sticks. But a Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick sticks tight instantly. Watch it again in slow motion. No pressure, yet we can lift the egg, even boil it. And the Band-Aid plastic strip never comes loose.
Maybe you don't want to broil eggs this way, but you do want the extra protection of Band-Aid plastic strips. They take better care of little cuts and scratches. They stay put.
Yes, even in hot, soapy dishwater. Neat, fresh-colored, almost invisible. Band-Aid plastic strips with new Super Stick stick better than any other bandage. Made only by Johnson & Johnson, the most trusted name in surgical dressings. Be sure you get Band-Aid plastic strips.
Hurt finger. Band-Aid plastic bandage and collar. Hurt elbow. Band-Aid bandage. It's blue. Hurt ankle. Band-Aid bandage. It's yellow. Hurt knee. Band-Aid bandage. It's red. Band-Aid stars and strips. Ooh. Band-Aid strips and spots. Charmers. New. In colors. Get some.
Man, we're gonna need a lot of Band-Aids right now. We got a lot of bruises and hurt elbows. Let's put it that way. America is currently under a state of I stubbed my toe. Everybody's walking around with stubbed toes and belly aches, and we've been better, is what we can say about that. What I miss is back when you could go to the doctor and things sounded better than they were. They still weren't good, but at least like adults were lying to you in a way that sounded good. But like you could go to the doctor and like they say like, you have a instead of saying like you have like the flu, they say, you got butterflies in your tummy, like you have a little bit of a bellyache, but like what I want to do is I wish you could go to the doctor now, and like instead of how they used to do that to kids and say like you got some butterflies in your tummy, like if you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, Mr. Jones, if you keep eating all that red meat, pretty soon you're gonna have some butterflies in your left arm. All right, so we have a comedian on the program who comes from almost royal status. He is on a podcast, which is one of my favorites, the Todd Glass show. And if you want a little sample of what that show is, it's just a boatload of joy. It happens every Friday. Todd Glass, the first time I saw him was on Comedy Central Presents, and just the dynamics of the show, it just got so much happening. Shows you just how much can happen in the space of stand-up, where instead of just talking, standing there with your hands in your pockets, with your thumb up your ass, he's performing. Todd has this background where he did stand-up. Some of his earliest gigs were like in like the like with singers. Like he was involved in like the showman aspect of entertainment, where he was opening up for. It's in his book. I forget who the singer is. It's like one of those like those soulful, hearty type of ladies. But he was doing comedy there, and he's just like, these people are sweating, they're dancing, they're moving it, they're ageless, they're timeless. So like, he probably learned a thing or two from just watching this just high energy performative style, and then got some ideas about how he could incorporate so much more momentum and just different dimensions of space. There's so much you can work with on a stage. There's so much, there's such a blank canvas there, and to just draw a straight line is just a limit. And that's kind of how I feel about Todd Glass. But this comedian is someone who I've been listening to the podcast for years, and he shows up and he has this backstory, which Todd Glass has a jingle for, and basically tells his whole backstory. And without me yapping about it, I'm just going to play a little clip here, which basically tells the story.
John, let's take a second and thank the living shit out of you. Thanks, John. Thank you, John. You score the show, you wait and pray, you take these moments, and boom, you go in. That's why back in Kansas City, where you're from, what is your life story? What is your life story?
John Brand Wagner. He's from Lawrence, Kansas. Started comedy.
Okay.
At the age of 20 in Kansas City. At Stanford and Sons. You know he was working at Jason's Deli.
Pause this. How about the person that gave this to me, what they're responsible for? They know who they are right now. There's somebody sitting in their house. And you can email me, because I want to thank you for the art thing. I don't like to, it's very, it was a picture of Echo. No. Oh, shit. No. What am I, an unfunny person?
And he left community college to start comedy. He watched the movie Step Brothers over and over.
What?
And over some more.
What?
I mean, it was a funny movie after all.
Well, that's true.
And then something happened that changed it all. He heard Todd Glass call for a new soundboard person on his podcast. And he looked up to the sky and he put his fist to his hips, and the clouds broke and a sunbeam shot down on him, and it was like opening his eyes for the first time. Or maybe it was like winning the lottery.
I told people I was going to do an open mic, and everyone reassured me that, you're going to bomb your first time. You're going to do awful. And I thought, oh, that's a great way to encourage someone who just started out on a new career path. Like, you wouldn't tell a doctor, hey, this is your first surgery. You're going to kill him.
So that's John Brand Wagner on the Todd Glass show, showing that he's just a big part of that family over there, which is real inspiring. And you heard the backstory, and it was produced into a jingle, and basically covers a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be rehashed in a supplemental interview of any kind. But yeah, you heard a little bit of that. He's a stand-up performer. He plays music. He's an all-around badass. And here's a clip of him performing at Helium.
Hey! Hey! Already having fun. That's great. I try to grow a beard, folks. This is 3 years in the works. I really can't. It's difficult. It's difficult to grow a beard for me. Every time I try to grow a beard, I look like the little brother who dies in a Western. I don't want to go home to Ma. I want to rob this bank with you guys. Come on. It's the last heist. Nothing bad can happen. Of course, I get shot in the stomach. Oh, so cold. Oh. Died in my big brother's arms. He has a great beard. Shoots everybody. I saved the day, weirdly. You guys like life hacks? Life hacks? I like to go to rich neighborhoods and yell, Alexa, unlock front door. It's such a bummer when someone tries to make fun of you. Not the worst. I was having fun. I was. And I was singing along to that song. I was like, had a good day, didn't have to use my AK. This guy next to me, he's just like, can you even hold an AK, bro? I look like I did Columbine. Like, what do you mean? It's not hard to hold it. Kids love them. Impressions. You guys like impressions? Folks like impressions? This is my impression of Baby Jerry Seinfeld. Baby Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with my food being airplanes? You folks like one-liners about seatbelts? Buckle up. So Thinking Man's one-liner. I think it takes a lot of guts to be a sumo wrestler. Yeah. It's rude to point, people say. It's really rude to point. Unless there's a fire, then you're being an asshole. Well, we can't all be winners. I'm gonna be honest. I can't remember what's on my list. Now this next one's not gonna seem as funny because I looked at a list, but why are they called goalies? Shouldn't they be called no goalies? See, I told you, I was right. That's how that works, and I showed you that's how it works. That's why I came here today, to be honest. You're welcome. That's how you ruin a joke by looking at a notebook. My name's been John Wagner. Keep it going for everyone else you see tonight.
Los Angeles, California, John Wagner.
John.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Doing all right. We just watched you do some stand-up.
Nice. Hopefully it was good.
Yeah, it was good. one of the greatest things you do is you do a one-liner about Jerry Seinfeld, baby Jerry Seinfeld.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of my. I'm proud of that one.
That one, listening to the audience, they're peaking.
Appreciate it.
That was
I felt good about the audience in that recording, so I sent it off to you. I did that at the fabulous Helium Philly Improv.
Philly, that's where Todd's from.
Exactly right.
So is that like a home base for him? Like, is that...
Yeah, that's his home club or whatever. So whenever he goes back, that's like his biggest draw and everything.
I've always wanted to, so like over here in Boston, Todd never comes to Boston. Which...
And we got close.
There was something where like you guys were coming to New York or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, it was this last spring or whatever. Or fall. We went to New York. I want to go to more places. Boston would be great.
How does that work? Do you guys ride in a bus and kind of like do some opening? Are you an opening act for Todd?
I don't open. Have you seen him at all live with like the band behind him?
I've seen his specials, like, you know, everything from like
right, okay.
Comedy Central Presents to all the other things.
The most recent one on Netflix, he has like a band behind him. So, and that's like reminiscence. He's really influenced by Don Rickles and Rodney Dangerfield, and they had bands behind them like back in the day. And he's that's like just been a dream of his. So a band behind him, and then I'm part of the band now because I know his like timing really well, and I know a lot of he likes doing the bits with like where he turns to everybody, and we all start yelling about something. It's just so much energy and just so much noise.
Yeah,
I know how to do those well, so yeah, follow him.
Like the peanut gallery kind of stuff.
Exactly. Oh, look at me! I get first class, but it's the whole band, and he just gets so excited. And he's up there jumping up and down and giggling. But yeah, I've gone to Philly, I think 3 times now, but this was the first time that I went to Philly, and then we did more shows, one being in New York at the Murmur Theater. Pretty cool theater.
So are you based out of LA right now?
Yep, I'm here in LA, originally from Kansas City, but been out here for like 3 years now.
So when I listen to the pod, like I've heard all the episodes, and I like depending on which era you hear, like there was a period where I was like, I'm just listening to all of them all over again.
And that's insane because they're like 5 hours long. So
yeah, it's a pretty hefty package, but it's like it's such like evergreen entertainment, and it's like what I always appreciated was like just the level of production value for a podcast. Or most people are just like, hey, let's just sit around in a room and not come up with anything in advance and just talk off the top of our heads. Like he's got notes, he's got cues, he's hired someone to write jingles to like for each thing he's planning.
Yeah, he has so much stuff, and then a lot of the show is just him talking about all the stuff that he has to try to do a good show, and it's just like it's actually I'm happy to talk to someone who's actually like a fan of the podcast, because there's that point you pass where you're not like a consumer anymore, and you can't see it from from that point of view. Like I know how the sausage is made too much. So yeah, I'm really curious how you like perceive the show and like what you think is funny about it. The Todd Glass show.
Well, here's something that is a real small Easter egg. I actually wrote a jingle for Todd, and he played it on one of his episodes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It was.
I organized like all the jingles at one point.
Do you remember? Did you ever? I think it was the episode with Graham Elwood, and they're talking about Podfest. And there was a jingle I wrote which was about Todd going to the gym and how he sneaks into the gym, and I wrote it to the tune of Elvis's "Can't Help Falling in Love."
It's ringing a huge bell. I definitely remember that episode, and I remember that someone sent in a jingle to that song. That's awesome.
It was something where I was like, yeah. So that was it was one of those things. I was like, he's playing a lot of jingles on the show. I know that one dude, is it Joe Jingle Joe?
Jingle Joe, yep. Joe McKenzie.
So, like, and then there'd be other people that would submit stuff every now and again, and then I was kind of like, hey, I'm a songwriter, I'm a musician, and I want to go for it and, like, write this thing, and then just took one of his stories that it was hilarious because he had John Mulaney on, and he's talking...
I know exactly what you're talking about. That was so... He's... walks in, like, gets his hair wet. He's like, oh, I got something.
But he has like this whole ruse for how he gets away with getting a free day at the gym, which he could probably just go in there if he's not been in that town. Just been like, yeah, I'm an out of towner. Do you have like a free sample pass? And he's just like, I got to come up with a whole strategy where I left my towel out in the car.
I think Todd does live a very like careful life in some ways. Like he's very. He's a homebody, except when he does a lot of shows and stuff. Yeah. But he's very cautious, so I think little things like them is really like, it's like a thrill for him to like, I got away with getting away with something so like, no stakes really, and no one really got hurt.
Have you ever been involved, like I imagine something like that, like, so I'm like exposing my fandom a little bit, where like, I'm like connecting different podcasts where I've heard this story and had it come true in an episode of the show.
Love that.
So there's something where he's talking about like, so it's something where, so he has these little moments where he like goes and does something like on a whim or something like that. Or I'm trying to think who it was. Oh, he's talking to, it's Nick Swartzen. And he's talking about how Nick Swartzen was like, I think it was on a recent episode, and he's like, the first time I met you, he took me out for like pancakes, and then decided, let's do a bit where I'm your dad, and you have to eat these pancakes or something.
It's, did you hear it on another podcast, or it was like true or something?
Well, no, I think that was like on the actual episode, and Nick Swartzen was talking about it. Or it was another podcast with Nick Swartzen, and he's talking about how that actually happened. But like, there's these little things where it's like, it sounds like he'll do stuff like that in public. Like he'll do a real life bit, and just for the appreciation of who's involved with it.
Yeah, it's really funny now. Like every time I hear it, whenever like I hear someone say the word bit, I'm so curious where like they came up with that, where their origin for like the idea of a bit, because I never like really thought about it, but like when I met Todd, he talks about it like it's a thing. Like, no, it's a bit. It's a thing you do with like your friends. They're called bits, and it's like, all right. And like he loves doing these things, and it's always like he's.
Well, it can mean many things. Like a bit could just be like a part. Like you have bits in your act, but a bit could also be like a practical joke that like.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, you're whatever it is.
Todd's and the reason he is famous for doing so many is like he's just cliche one of these people who is always on.
Yeah.
So whenever there's a chance to do anything, he's like, let's do something.
Have you ever been part of something where he had some kind of a ruse or some kind of a something, and you're like, we're about to go experience something that's going to be a memory?
Let's see here.
I mean, not to put you on the spot with like hey, tell me a story, tell me a wild story that happened.
Well,
What's the craziest?
My head is not like, it's not a great example. I don't even think it really is in the category of what you're asking, but the kind of things that will happen with Todd is like, I went to go get breakfast really bad, and he came with me. We went to a place, and there was a waiting list, and like I would never do this in a million years, but like the whatever person like called a name 3 times, and Todd was like, "That's us." And I was just like immediately like, "Oh my god, we're in a bank heist. This is so nice." But yeah, Todd's like the guy who would like go for it with like stuff like that, and
like scoop into somebody didn't respond to their table being called or something like that.
Yeah, and then we sit down, and like we're not now like he's like. It's a real life bit in that like we're like discussing like what are we gonna do, and they come over and say like this and that. It was kind of crazy thing we got into one time.
I feel like there's a certain amount of like an instinct for like a contrarian instinct. Like It's a little bit of a correcting the world's injustice, like in this small bit of like, I'm gonna steal something back, even if it's like a pancake. But like, there's
yeah, exactly. I think like I forget where I've heard this analogy for the first time. I don't even know if the analogy's the right phrase, but the when there's like a table of cupcakes and it's like there's 100 cupcakes and everyone's supposed to take one cupcake and there's 100 people. But one person decides to take 3 cupcakes, and then that person's like, oh, fuck, well, if that person's getting more cupcakes, I'm going to take 4 cupcakes. And then there's half the people are left with no cupcakes. Todd's definitely one of the people who's like, I'm taking like 9 cupcakes.
That also makes me think of like an episode of the podcast. And I'm not going to keep going on about like, hey, do you remember in the podcast we're also, and also, like...
I want to.
But I mean, I could constantly like just talk about Todd Glass, the lore of Todd Glass endlessly.
Yeah, please. If you have something, please, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a thing you're talking about in the podcast where it's like you go around and say, what's the last thing you stole? And like, everyone's like, I don't know if I want to admit this. Todd's like, all right, you got yours? All right, I was at Whole Foods and I scooped a handful of stuff out of the scooper. And it's like, he's like, I think there's a klepto instinct, which, hey, honestly, I feel the same exact way. I think people don't feel comfortable admitting how much thievery is really the norm, I think.
No, it is. Absolutely.
Most people steal.
I had sticky fingers growing up to the point where, like, I probably did some stuff that I could have done some time for, but got away with it or whatever. But, I got to a point in my life where I stopped wanting to lie so much, and I think like stealing was in that same category of like there's just too much going on in your brain where it's like this is the truth, and then you also have to have the lies and the plan for the stealing also in your head, and it's like I want to get rid of all that stuff because my brain's already too chaotic. Try to only like narrow it down to truth and not stealing anymore, and then you start realizing like you're at your friend's house and you're like, man, my TV remote doesn't have any AA batteries, and I see some AA batteries right there. I'm just gonna, and then your whole night's like planned around like, all right, when I go get a drink of water, I'll get those AA batteries and sneak them in my pocket, and you don't feel guilty, but you do feel guilty, and I think that is the norm.
Yeah, well, there's a morality to it, and there's also like a sense of like, I don't know, when you're young and you're told you shouldn't do this, or society, there's a convention where you're supposed to tell the truth, you're not supposed to steal, you're supposed to share, but then you become an adult and you see that like all the people in charge do not do that. Like we have a president who lies, steals, gropes, people who are sexual assaulters get away with things, and then you're like, I'm gonna steal from this corporate thing that everybody on the top of that is either like, let's take Amazon for instance, they're paying less income tax than either one of us, and you're like, if I could steal from Amazon, I would do it all day. Like there's this feeling of like, if you steal from a corporation, you're taking, it's honest. I feel like there's a certain amount of like justice of like, they tell you not to do something, but it's to kind of say that you shouldn't do that. But deep down, if you do that, it's how you kind of get above the molehill and don't struggle. So there's people think if you hoard, that's how you win, as opposed to sharing, which is how everybody wins. But people don't want to take the time to say, let's find a system for which we can share with everybody, make it so everyone has enough. And people are like, not taking taking too long, and I'm going to grab a big old handful of all the berries. And
people don't have. I think that people aren't patient enough to like be like, all right, I have to. First off, I have to like give my resources out into the universe and hope that it's going to come back, and also wait for it to come back. And I think that's just too much for people.
Yeah.
Because people do, because like there's people that'll take 9 cupcakes and they don't, and people have been screwed over, and it feels bad when you get screwed over and you get to a point it's like, even if I wasn't gonna get screwed over in that situation, I'm just not gonna do it because I can't live with myself anymore getting screwed over.
The guilt of that. So morality. How do you feel about Bernie pulling out of the race? Have you said
it felt like it was probably going to happen when the first Biden polls where it's like, oh shit, it was all going that way. I didn't like it. Well, I felt like it was probably going to go that way anyways. And then when it finally happened, it was like, well, I gave up on politics when that happened, and then I was, ever since the Corona situations, like I haven't cared about politics at all. So that fact that he pulled out, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. This is a weird time. It's
a weird time, and I kind of honestly thought they were just going to postpone democracy. I mean, it's already not democracy right now, but it's like I thought they were just going to say, we're going to be democracy in 2 years. Once everything's opened up again, we're basically taking a leap year with elections. But no, it's like, but then it's all just like it's filtering everything into looks like the shit's going to stay shitty still.
It's filtering right back into what we've had for so long, which is just like the Democrats wanting the Democrats they wanted and the Republicans wanting the Republicans they wanted, and it's just like keeping us wondering what's going to happen while major corporations are running everything, and it's a fun mess. It's a fun mess. This whole Corona thing's like a catalyst for it all. Hopefully, we can all like group together behind it somehow, and I think I remember you saying something about that in the episode you sent me.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it resets everything. Like, as in, like, everyone has to stay indoors, and we're kind of like, oh, you notice how things didn't work because we didn't have a working healthcare system, and now it's like a pandemic really put everything to the test. So now it's like, it's not invisible, like these invisible injustices, like they can't happen because we saw them fail in public, and it's such a visible thing. But it's just crazy. I mean, all you can do is just like turn a blind eye, or just have a coronary heart attack, like from just the burden of it all.
Yeah, and I mean, God, what if after all of this, it just goes right back to the same bullshit?
Snaps back, and everybody's still just like not talking to each other.
Not talking to each other. Healthcare is still a pain in the ass to get, and like didn't change at all.
People are still not getting paid to work at Amazon, even when they're shipping stuff unsafely.
Airplane companies that have already gotten too big get bailed out, and it's like, yeah, no.
Well, immediately it's like when the stimulus happened, it's like Wall Street was the first one to get bailed out again. Like, we forgot that 2008 happened, and we still haven't received our checks. Like, as far as like, what the fuck? Where is all of it? Like, we're the one. Like, you said you were doing it, and I don't know. It's stuff that just.
It's so. What's the word? I'm trying not to normalize it or whatever it is. It's like it is. It's getting to a point in my head. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. But it's like, no, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. It shouldn't be like that. But
it's like you accept something for being broken. But like,
yeah.
What's the deal with that? It's like, hey, if your thing isn't working, get a new thing. Like, I don't get this idea of like, no, just keep riding this tricycle that has wheels falling off. Just duct tape the wheels. I know they don't roll anymore, but just use it. Use it to get around.
It's like, yeah, well, I have to feed a family of 9 million on this tricycle. So, or madam.
It might take 70 years to get to everybody, and most people will be dead by the time I get my meal, meal on wheel around. So what if you, like, I noticed like the first week that this happened, I feel like people were like, we're all indoors, and people are kind of like, hey, we have an urge to connect because we are all dealing with this. And then weeks went by, and I feel like everybody just withdrew, and they're just sucked into their distraction devices. And it almost, I don't know, like, it could have been a hopeful thing, but it kind of feels like it became this thing where everyone's like extra disconnecting. People are getting off social media and kind of just remotifying, but not in a way that's necessarily connected. Like, even everyone's taking to like Instagram Live to kind of connect with the world, but because everybody's online trying to connect with the world, nobody can see anybody. It's just like everything's extra overloaded with the fact that the internet was already this kind of oversaturation of just everythingness. And now that we all have to be online to connect, now it's even too much. It's way too much shit to look at to even focus on one thing. So then we're even more isolated.
I'm watching the same wave. I can feel it in myself. When it first happened, I was like, oh, I gotta like be active. I'm sure if anybody was like me, I think I was like in denial. I was like, this will be like a month long, just like, so I have a month off. I can be active online, get some stuff done. And then when you realized how long it was going to be, I think like a lot of people were like, all right, let's slow down on being how happy we were or whatever, and really pace out how we're gonna spend our time indoors.
We all like acted like it was vacation, but it was like, oh no, this is a hibernation, and all of a sudden it's like 7 more months of winter, and it's that dreary.
Yeah, I mean, not really flip side of the coin, but almost like where it's like, could you imagine if this happened when we didn't have internet? Like no one could have stayed inside. Like everyone, like it would have someone would have been like, nah, I gotta go down to the bar and hang out with whatever.
It's too much cabin fever, and it's like now we're all living in cabins.
And like, thank God we have at least some sort of weird outlet.
Yeah. You said you were doing a live stream with comedian Duncan Carey?
Yeah, Duncan Carey. You should talk to him sometime. He's a very funny guy and knows a good deal about Todd. He knows how to break stuff down pretty well, so he might have some interesting takes on Todd Glass.
Yeah.
It started off with me. Like, I needed to not get high all day, so I was like, all right, so if I can if I can wait until 4:20 at least to get high, and then like make a big thing out of it.
So why 4:20? That's a random time. That's a middle of the hour kind of time to choose. That's very peculiar.
Oh, it's I put a bunch of numbers on a wall. I threw some darts. It's just.
The dart hit the 20-minute under the 4-hour.
Like, all right, well, that's how I'm going to pick my band name, too. But I started off like that, and then on the second one, Duncan Carey, came in, and I just, I had never done the dual live stream, whatever, and I was like, I want to get you in here, buddy. And then we, talked for, 2 hours or whatever, just, organically, just kind of happened, and we did it the next day, and the next day, and then probably do it again today, and it'll be going on 13 days in a row. We'd just talk to each other for now an hour and a half or so. It's not a lot of viewers, but we make fun of that. And it's not even really, it's a show. We have to call it a show because that'd be disrespectful to the people that actually watch it. But it is.
Hey, these are just two guys.
Yeah, it is just me and Duncan talking to each other, and then him and I. Getting to do bits of being oh, this is a real show, get it? But it's not a real show.
Yeah. So, so that's cool. So what time is it there right now? So it's here it's 8:30, but it's 5:30 over there?
It's 5:30 here. So when it first started, it was 4:20 on the weekend, and then it hit Monday, and he actually has a 9 to 5 that he can still work at home. Good for him.
Yeah.
And So the joke has just become. There's a whole joke behind it where I'm in Hawaii, and so I'm still hitting 4:20 time, but it's 6:20 in LA time. But that's when we do it now on the weekdays. Is 6:20.
Now, are you competing?
Nice to have that out with it, yeah.
You're competing with. I know this Doug Benson does this thing where every 20 minute on the hour he shows up and he takes a hit of something.
Oh, is he doing that? Good. I love that.
Yeah.
I felt so. The first time I did it, I deleted the first one I did because it's just you feel there's something that feels bad about just putting you smoking weed on the internet. It just feels kind of hacky. Feels incriminating a little bit.
Like irresponsible, or more like just feels kind of trashy?
Trashy, maybe a little irresponsible in the weird hopes that like a representative sees it or whatever. But I'm getting more uncomfortable with it. But a lot of it is just that paranoia, which I don't know if you smoke, but like yeah, like it sucks. I like getting high and I really enjoy it, but every time I get a little too high, I'm like constantly like, am I getting sick? Like, I feel weird, but I can't tell if this is like a sick weird.
So I have a medical card. Massachusetts, became, it's legal recreational now, and then it was medical. But before it was like everything was like dispensaries were opening up recreation. It was like only medical for a while. So the smartest thing to do was just fork over the $200 or whatever, get the card, and then you make your money back with all the discounts and stuff.
All right.
So I did that for the last 2 years, and then I think I smoked myself to completion. Like, like I sampled everything. I bought bags. I spent hundreds of dollars. And then, I was unemployed a couple times, and just, like you're saying, like the perils of smoking during the day and just what is normal, what is high. And then all of a sudden you can't see the normal through the high, and you're just like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it exacerbates the anxiety. So I got it because of chronic anxiety, and now it's like I can't enjoy it anymore. So I do tinctures, and now
That's what you're saying. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I got these things. So this one I got at the dispensary. It's called the Feel Collection. It's got a little. It's like 10-to-1 CBD to THC ratio.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I want to go down that avenue. I'm always, I don't know. If I could have it my way, I would only smoke out of like a portable vaporizer that I would only use.
Yeah.
And I would do like tinctures or some type of edible. So I do want to get away from the burning the flower too, because that's like not good for you.
Yeah, I think there's this kind of self-delusion where people are like, it's weed, it's healthier than cigarettes. It's like, well, if you're lighting anything on fire and inhaling it, I mean, even they say even incense causes cancer, or like maybe even a candle wax probably causes cancer. Like, fire is probably just not healthy at all.
It's insane we do it, and we can make ourselves feel like it's totally normal.
Because you're high. Like, you're like, it's healthy. It's like, but you feel good in your brain because you're high, and you're like, no, it's healthy. It's like, no, you just feel good. And that just coats your thoughts with comfort.
It's the little bits of addictions of it all, where it's like habit forming and it being a little addictive. It's fucking, but it's also personal. Everybody's where it's like, I think everybody's like, everybody has one thing, whether it be drinking or cigarettes or smoking weed or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people fall back on that, me being one for sure, where it's like, I got my weed, that's my one thing, don't bother me, whatever.
I don't know if I have just one thing, but it's definitely like, I like to say there's levels of it. Like, you could be doing worse stuff. Like, I've never done cocaine, never done heroin. There's all these things that I'm like, I'm all set. I will not do acid. I'm just past it. It will not happen. Yeah. When I was younger in college, I did Adderall. But like now, I'm like, I look back and I'm like, how would I not have an anxiety attack if I were to, like, even cold brew, like too much cold brew will send me in.
I was drinking way too much coffee at the beginning of all this.
Yeah.
I was having some weird ass days, and either I was just going through weird days, or I finally narrowed it down to me just drinking way too much coffee, like, and not having like anything to do with it.
Because you don't have you're not moving, like you're indoors, you're stationary, and then you're just like, cold brew, which is the most maximum caffeine, and then you get like caffeine psychosis.
Yeah, no, it's fucking nuts. Like, one thing I swear to God, I chalk it up to, I'm stuck inside, I'm trying to stay inside and be smart. I'm like, to make a little bit of money on the side, I'm drawing on t-shirts, and I had to go get some more t-shirts to draw on, and I bought XL and large and kid sizes, but I needed like regular sizes, and I didn't, and like that was already bad enough, but what was worse about it is that I like drew on 2 of them, shipped one out, thinking they were like regular sizes, and it wasn't until like 2 days later, finally, like I looked at one. I was like, "These are fucking kid sizes." So like I like looked at them and even handled them for days, and like still didn't even click on me. I was like, "Copy."
You're just too on edge, and you're like, "Is this a small?" But it has like footsies on it. It has like a little Fozzie Bear flap in the back, and you're like, "I think is this an extra small?"
I like see the tag, and I barely see XL. I'm like, good enough.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
Is this the Kanye West sized?
Yeah, it's on a baby. My mother starts screaming.
You pulled the baby out of the manger, and you're like, I'm going to start drawing on this sample sized. So we're cutting it for time. I feel like it'd be cool if we did this again.
Yeah, please. We didn't get to Todd Glass as much as I would have liked to.
Yeah, maybe in a couple weeks. I mean, I'm doing this every Friday, and it's not like people are banging down the door to do this.
Yeah, no, please have me back. Some things I wanted to like. When I listened to that episode, I was like, I like your message as far as like, yeah. Well, you kind of like touched on it in this episode too, of not feeling bad about taking advantage of like Amazon and stuff like this. Like, I liked your movement there, and then you played a song. I knew it from Inside Llewyn Davis or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I like your song choices. A few other song choices.
I was gonna say. So first of all, I don't think this is gonna be the best episode. Just there are some technical difficulties to pull back the curtain a little bit at the start. This happened a couple times where I did a whole bunch of stuff. I did a whole rant. The microphone's off. And I'm like, okay, chalk this one up to whatever that is. But, there's a certain amount of ground building. I think maybe, I was thinking like it'd be cool if you came and like maybe if you want to play some songs on the air.
I would love that.
But then also maybe we could say this is a practice run and we can really hash into some shit.
Absolutely. Plane flying overhead. Sorry about that. No, yeah, I feel the same way about all this stuff that I'm starting now too. It's all like ground floor, just get it out there, and it gets better as you go along. And I mean, come on, the real fans like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the raw.
Yeah, exactly.
Your underwear's hanging out of your shorts, kind of stuff.
It's like, you could really tell this was before it was polished too much.
Yeah, I do like. There's a certain amount of like. It's almost like folk music. Like you have to forgive yourself for all the little, I knew I played that chord wrong, or I added the wrong chord in that little moment. But then you have to say, moving on, this chorus, and then all of a sudden that's probably the best chorus you ever did because you played kind of a sloppy verse, and you have to overcompensate to make up for it. So there's like these little...
and it's like, and it's like, if you're playing for a live audience, like, those little imperfections are like, they become part, like, by the time your imperfection gets all the way across the room into their ear, they've like, it's getting filtered through so much shit, and it goes into a brain that's also like interacting with the room and the energy, and it doesn't sound wrong. It sounds like
it's just
right for some.
It's just incidental almost. Like like a waiter might have dropped a glass, and at that very moment you made the mistake, they turn their head, and then they look back, and you're just doing slick stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's and the cliche things like ugly things are beautiful. It's like the imperfections are like what make people unique and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, like I like to think of like a Grateful Dead kind of thing. Like every time they play a show, none of the songs are played the same twice. So like every time you go, Fish. Yeah, Fish is like modern day Grateful Dead kind of, right? It's the jam band idea is like...
Yeah, they definitely get the parallel a little bit.
So you every time...
Dead's great music to listen to right now while you're in quarantine. It's the opposite end of Fish, but they do similar things as far as like get you into the moment.
Yeah, it's like they let it breathe, and the song is a living, breathing creature when they're doing it.
Yep, it's fun, yeah.
So maybe one more quick thing here, just to kind of end on a nice little button, and then maybe
something to talk about. But yeah, please do it up.
So what's a I don't know, like what's one of your favorite moments from the Todd Glass show, and then maybe do one of your favorite bits, and I'll play like a rim shot laugh track on my side.
All right. My favorite. There was this one time on the tour where I was pretty tipsy. Todd gets pretty tipsy, but like it was the last night of Philly shows, and we had like this cardboard thing that was like we're using as a table, and I asked Todd if we didn't need it anymore, and he was like no. So I like drunkenly like started falling into it and like being like, oh no, Todd, oops, I broke it. And then he's like, John, no. He starts freaking out and starts shaking me, and then we both fall on the table, and then he's like, it just felt it was really cool because it felt like we were just two friends like in high school again, and it was just like it was really fun. It was just like in that one moment where nothing really mattered and we were truly just good friends. It was fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then one of my bits. Let's see here. So you want one of my? This is a one-liner. No, sorry. This is an impression.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Jerry Seinfeld thing, where it's like this is an impression of a satisfied cannibal. All right, so this is a satisfied cannibal. Guess who has two thumbs and just ate a guy? Thank you.
John Brand Wagner. We just played the Hawaii 5-0 theme. Awesome, man. Thanks.
You guys got sound effects over there too? Love it.
Yeah, I made a little mock soundboard over here. We'll have to get into some more stuff.
I want to discuss. We got two podcast pioneers here. Got to talk shop.
Two pioneers. We got to talk about this this Oregon Trail we're both making a wayward journey on.
I always spill everything in that goddamn river.
Man, got malaria again on this this trail here. My baby, my baby got eaten by a coyote. All right, man. Good talking with you. We'll have to do this again. And
so fun talking to you, man. Big fan of yours, and I hope we will become good friends in the future.
I hope so, man. Let's make sure we stay in touch off the podcast, and then continue to do more podcast-related activity.
I love it.
All right, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, much love. Good talking with you.
Good talking to you.
Bye. That was John Brand Wagner of the Todd Glass Show. Well, that was awesome. It was cool learning about the inner workings of the sausage factory and how things are made and the fun and the camaraderie and the joy that happens there. We have more happening on the show right now. We have a ventriloquist standing by. A ventriloquist by the name of Kevin H. Driscoll, who, as far as I know, is the only ventriloquist in Boston. Let's hear a little bit from Kevin and his dummies. And when I say dummies, I don't mean intellectually disabled individuals. I mean literal puppets. Just in case you were about to come get me. Hi, I am looking for the clips here, and here we go.
Hi, boys and girls. We're here today in our brand new virtual studio with all of my puppets. And of course, Jerry.
Kevin. Can you hear me, Kevin? Kevin? Hello?
I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me? I can't see you.
Can't see me. Okay, maybe it's the video. Okay, sorry. Try that again.
All right, let me try to... There you are. I see you.
All right, and hear me.
I can hear you. and I can hear you and see you. I'm experiencing you through all my senses, save from touch, taste, and smell. 2 out of the 5 accommodated for. How are you?
I'm good. But I've got a dog that he claims he has to what's the nice word? He has to tinkle. So he wants to sing his song because he has to leave quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear what's your dog's name?
This is Doug the Talking Dog. He's gonna sing a song that he wrote. It's called The Coronavirus Blues. If you remember, I dropped my laptop, and I'm not sure how long this thing is gonna last.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So let me see if I can get Doug to sing the song here. Doug, you gonna sing? You gonna sing? You gonna sing the song, Doug? It's called The Coronavirus Blues. Ryan, this is The Coronavirus Blues, and Doug's gonna sing the song. Ready, Doug? Ready? Go ahead. Pretty good, Doug. Good. That's Ryan. That's Ryan.
Hey.
Yeah. Yep, very good. It's blues.
It's got good pipes for a dog.
It's talking dog.
It's talking.
Singing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Coronavirus blues, right? Yeah.
This is like a real jazz standard.
No, we don't got it. No, we don't. Not yet.
We don't have enough kits to know.
Where can we go? Stay inside, stay home. Very good. Yep, very good, Doug. Where can we go? What can we do? Stay inside, wash your hands. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. He has to go tinkle.
He has to go for a walk.
Yeah. he walks himself, and I wasn't sure the laptop was going to continue.
Now, does a dog like that know how to use a toilet?
Dog like that, as he says, I say, well, I don't know.
You're like, I haven't thought about the.
Ryan, I don't know how to tell you this, but the puppets aren't real.
Wait, what?
The puppets aren't real. I mean,
No. No, it's real. It's real.
He just makes fun of me all the time. And he just, but he's very concerned about the coronavirus. Come on, Jerry, come on.
Oh, who's this?
This is. Wait a minute. What the heck? What is that? I can't understand. You got a mask. You don't need a mask. Can I take it off? Let me take it. You don't need. It's my mask. You took my mask. I need the mask. No, you don't. No, you don't need a mask. You're not real. What?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not real.
Yes. Ryan thinks I'm real. He thinks I'm real, right?
No, I know you're real. I don't know if Kevin's real.
Yeah.
Hey, let me talk to what's his name? Jerry.
Hi,
Hey, Jerry. Just between you and me, what do you think? What do you think of Kevin?
He's really old, and he looks like a girl. I'm not a girl. Yes, you are. You got long hair like a girl.
I'm not a girl. I have a beard.
I know you look like an.
Yeah, he has long lady hair on his face. That's even more girly. He has twice as much long hair.
Yeah, he's a girl. He's a girl. I know. He's got long hair.
So what? Like a couple of fellas.
I can't afford a haircut. Why not? I have a son in college.
Still?
Yeah, still in college.
Why?
Well, he wants to be an anesthesiologist.
Oh, like you.
No, I'm a ventriloquist. He wants to be an anesthesiologist. Anesthesiologists, they put people to sleep.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That calls.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, everybody.
Wait, give me another one-liner. I want to hear another.
He's just a hick.
Well, he's right. I am a hick, but I'm a legitimate hick. I'm from Sumner, Nebraska.
Tiny town, tiny town.
It was a very tiny town. It still is a tiny town. Population 236 people.
Yeah, tiny town.
But, we even had a zoo.
And?
We had to close the zoo.
You had to close the zoo? Why, the chicken died? I like that joke.
Jerry, I don't, stop it. I don't need a puppet to be funny.
You're not funny with one.
That's not true. I've taken a lot from you over these years.
Yeah, I know, and you kept every cent. Yeah, you kept every cent. You kept every dollar. You kept every money. You didn't give me any money.
Sounds like you guys don't have a fair deal. It sounds like there's a little too much. What's the percentage split when you guys do a gig?
I don't know. He thinks I know. You're not real, Ryan. You're not real.
I know you're real.
What's the matter with him?
Well, you're wearing a suit, so you must have some. You wouldn't be wearing a suit if you didn't know what you're talking about.
We always dress alike ordinarily.
Yeah, he doesn't have any money. He lost all of his gigs. He can't buy a suit anymore. He lost all of his gigs. He doesn't have any money anymore. He can't do anything. He's out of his mind.
Stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah, go get Doug.
Doug's already gone.
Oh, okay. Go get the other guy.
What other guy?
Any other guy. I'm gonna go to sleep. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I can't control anything he says. He's always like that. He's tendentious with his comments and everything. But anyway, so I'm sorry. You had a question earlier or something?
Yeah. Times have been tough for artists out here, including yourself. How's the ventriloquism industry doing these days?
Well, actually, this is a phenomenon because it provides everyone the opportunity to do a reset. You just hit the reset button. Okay, all of your gigs, everything you had, all of the daycare centers are closed. The senior centers, you can't get in. They don't even allow priests or religious people into the senior centers. So all the gigs are closed. I had some phenomenal corporate gigs.
I hear they don't let the priests into the daycares either, but that's for a different reason.
I won't go there. I'm a children's entertainment. I don't go there.
You don't know what I'm talking about. That's between me and Jerry. That was a joke he would get.
I do. I'm going to use that. I'll write that down. I can use that for my adult gigs. But it provides us the opportunity to just hit the reset button. And I'm going to be 69 this month.
69?
69. You're really old. What? You're going to be 69.
What? 69. No, thank you. I don't do that.
All right, stop. I'm sorry. He's like that all the time. But the point is, it gives us an opportunity to do things we've never done before. For example, I had my first free. I'm selling Happy Birthday singing telegrams. I'm selling them for $0. But Jerry tells me that if I do a lot of them, like 300 or so, 300 times 0, figure that out. That's all.
That could be a lot of money. After I do the math, I'll see. I'll find out. After I do the math, I'll find out if it's a lot of money. But it sounds like a lot of money.
It does. 300 times 0, gotta be something.
Gotta be something.
But I was able to do. I sold my first singing telegram to a girl by the name of. I can't use last names here, obviously. Sheikah was the mother. The girl's name was Secret, spelled differently. Anyway, she was in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now, I've traveled to Bridgeport, Connecticut and performed there before, but I couldn't, you're not supposed to go anyplace. You're supposed to stay home. So I did a virtual happy birthday singing telegram for Sheikah and her 10-year-old daughter. And they were able to join me on Facebook Live. What was important was her grandmother in Haiti was also able to join the party. So you can have anybody around the world attend your birthday party. So I'm talking to you, and if we use something like Skype or Google Duo, which is an app, I have FaceTime because I have the iPhone. But the point is, you can have an interactive conversation like this. During that first call, somebody from Nebraska happened to be, I don't know how they found out, but her daughter told her mother. Anyway, somebody in Nebraska claimed to be my babysitter because she was 10 years older. So if I was 5, she was 15. So that, maybe she was my babysitter. I don't remember her maiden name. I don't remember, any of that stuff. But anyway, she said, "Can you do a birthday party for my 4-year-old granddaughter? She's shut in and she can't go anyplace." I said, "Sure." So I was, and then I could see the people and they were laughing. But the thing is, with Facebook Live, if it's just, Facebook Live, it's just one person. So you don't hear the other people laughing. You don't hear the people laugh. So you think all your jokes are failing. Oh my word, this is terrible. I'm doing terrible. Nobody's laughing.
But you know what the solution to that is? You get a soundboard like I have here, and you add some laugh tracks. So every single joke I tell is killing. Oh, thank you. That's too much. That was a laugh track I just played.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm trying to. Yeah, I actually have some, but I haven't used them because it's I don't know. See, was it Stephen Colbert? Some of the Bill Maher was doing that. That was laugh that I picked up, but I haven't done that yet. But when I do the one-on-ones, it's great because I can see and talk to people. But it's so much fun to do this, and now I'm learning all these new things. But I'm learning them because I'm making tons of mistakes. So I had all these slides. I had what I thought beautiful slides made up. I put them on Facebook Live. People said the slides are backwards, and I looked. The slides are backwards. So I kept looking. The slides were fine, but Facebook Live flips them, so everything is backwards. Anything I had in print was backwards.
Oh yeah.
And then I had Harriet running the camera here. I don't know if you met Harriet or not.
No.
Harriet the hand puppet here. So there was a ventriloquist by the name of Senior Wences, and he was on the Ed Sullivan Show more than any other ventriloquist, more than any other entertainer, because he bought an apartment or a condo, whatever it was, next to the Ed Sullivan Theater. So whenever there was a cancellation, he was there. But this is Harriet the hand puppet. Oh, Harriet, looks like you lost a shoe.
No, I found one.
You don't sound very good.
You don't sound very good either.
No. Can you stick out your tongue?
No.
Okay, please, just stick out your tongue so I can see if you're. Just stick out your tongue.
So.
No.
Oh. That looked.
Okay. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing good. So for the listening audience doesn't know that there's more than one person here. So we have to let them know that there's a man with a puppet next to him. It's not just a man augmenting his voice back and forth between himself. But what we saw was a curly-haired, kind of a lady in a dress with googly eyes, and his hand was making the little mouth motions.
So
and then
if they Google Senior Wences, he was the mastermind that recorded all this stuff. He was absolutely amazing. Okay, and for those of you that are missing sports, here's the Boston Green Monster. See, he's waving to you. Hi, I'm Greg the Monster. I'm Greg. Greg the Boston Green Monster.
Now, what's Greg doing now that we have no baseball? He's just face palming. He's rethinking his career decisions.
Greg.
If only Greg could work from home. If they had a work from home option for Big Green Monsters. What do we got here? We got this is like an orangutan kind of monkey.
Yeah, it's like an orangutan. This is Jessica. The computer screen just went blank. We did it just in time. This is Harriet.
Harriet.
Mickey the Monster. I'm getting mixed up myself. All right. Okay. So you're gonna back? Yeah. You want to sing a song? What song do you want to sing? She wants to sing a song, "Happy" by Pharrell Williams. Have you heard that song?
I have heard it, yeah.
She wrote the song. She changed the words.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
You gotta show the camera.
Love in the air, and today's the day.
Today's the day.
Whenever you smile at me, I just want to sing a song.
Sing a song.
Whenever you're next to me, I love how we get along.
Get along.
I'd be even happier if I could call you mine.
Are you mine?
I'm bananas over you. Please be my Valentine. You make me happy. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Okay, all right. Enough. All right. All right. Okay, I gotta stop.
So I got bad news for Jessica. We just got hit with a $6 million lawsuit because our podcast is getting closed down because I don't think we have the rights to that song.
But she wrote the lyrics.
Oh, so it's okay, yeah. So under parody law, it doesn't count as copyright infringement. Is that how that works?
Oh, okay, right, okay. Well, right. Well, okay. So actually, I heard about that. So what I do when I do other shows, I do original music. So I write all the music. So if I write all the music, then it's legal, right? If I own the rights.
Wait, you write it or they write it?
No. If I write it.
You mean Jessica and Jerry? You write all the songs for them?
Yeah, the first one, the Coronavirus Blues, that was written by Doug the Talking Dog.
He wrote that one.
Yeah, and there's another song called the Framingham Blues.
Okay.
And Jerry can sing the Framingham Blues because we worked on that one together. And he wrote the lyrics and I wrote the music. It's called the Framingham Blues because I'm in Framingham.
Okay.
22 Driscoll Drive out in Framingham. But it's called the Framingham Blues. Now you may say, well, why would you call it the Framingham Blues? Well, if you lived in Framingham, you'd sing the blues too. but I live in the poor, not good section of Framingham, the section they call Framingham. So that's yet another one. Uh-oh. I think that's Jerry's song.
Oh, it's a duet.
When I bring them together, they sing they sing together. Ready, guys? We're gonna sing together. Here we go. Okay.
Oh, we're doing another verse?
So we own the rights to those because we worked together. We wrote the songs together.
So you're framing him.
We don't violate copyright laws.
That
About that, I'm sorry.
that Framingham joke made me think of. I have this joke about Somerville. So I live in the gentrified part of Somerville, also known as Somerville. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same math.
I steal material whenever I can.
Yeah, we know that's why Pharrell Williams is coming after. He's got a joint double lawsuit. He's shutting this podcast down. He's taking all the royalties from it. You know what's interesting? Actually, so the first couple episodes, I'm just kind of playing around with the things I like and putting things I want together. So I was putting some Beatles songs in there, just kind of without any kind of a reinterpretation or any icing, and like as if the Beatles aren't the most litigious, enterprise in history. So they show up on YouTube, and within 5 seconds they get swatted off of YouTube, and it's either it's due to a copyright issue, some kind of robots going around making sure Beatles isn't showing up in people's stuff. So they took it right down. But some of these other ones, I'll have a reggae song, and they'll just say, we got our eye on you. We're not taking down your thing, but we're watching your stats, or we're taking your royalties, or we realize you aren't making any money, and we're just saying, let them have it. That's what they're doing. But the Beatles just swatted down the entire episode off of YouTube because I guess I played a couple of their songs, and it's we know it's the Beatles, and I'm not making any money. No one's watching these videos. They got 3 views on YouTube, but but the Beatles are we got to make every penny, even if it means all 2 cents.
Like Walt Disney, if you do Mickey Mouse, forget it. And then and the Jim Henson, and the same thing with Jim Henson, and the Muppets, of course. So there's. I don't have Kermit the Frog because that would violate copyright laws. I don't have Kermit the Frog, but I do have his brother. His brother Fred the Frog.
Wait, as soon as those rabbit ears fall off, I think it's just Kermit.
Trying to be the Easter Bunny, but the bunny ears fell off. Yeah.
What's the frog's name?
Fred.
Fred? Hey.
Can you go back now? Yeah. You're really old. I didn't. I'm not that old. They didn't come over on the Mayflower. Was it Noah's Ark? It wasn't Noah's Ark. This is a podcast. They can't see you and hear you. Okay. Can you go down now? Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, Fred the Frog is whispering secrets into Kevin's ears, and not even letting the listening audience in on their secret.
that dead air silence goes over really well.
It goes over great. The whole first quarter of the episode was dead air, so we're hoping for big numbers on this one. So you're talking about learning. We're talking about learning new technology. So I'm getting into this podcast kind of head first and just trying to crash my way through it and figure it out.
Yeah.
So each episode has kind of had its own experience of oh, well, that's a mistake I made, and that's what I learned from going forward. But so each one has.
That's how we learn. It's by making mistakes.
That is true.
If you make mistakes, you're not going to learn.
Right.
It's the persistence. One of my heroes was, still is, Jeff Dunham. I don't know if you've seen Jeff, but he auditioned for this Tonight Show. I mean, this was way back before your grandparents were born. But it was a show called the Johnny Carson Show.
Yeah.
And it was the Johnny Carson Tonight Show with Johnny Carson or whatever it was.
That's basically like the old timey James Corden.
Yeah, right, yeah. So he auditioned for the Johnny Carson Show. You know how this is Jeff Dunham today. He's a international, world famous Ventriloquist with Ahmed and Walter and Peanut and all those.
Yeah.
And do you know how many times he auditioned?
Wait, Jeff Dunham auditioned on Johnny Carson?
No, he auditioned for the Johnny Carson show. In other words, he was trying to get on the show.
Those two timelines intersected?
Yeah, well, Jeff's about 50, so yeah, and he started performing when he was doing, I think 8 years old.
But is this like I guess I'm trying to like.
The point is,
yeah,
he auditioned a lot of times for the Johnny Carson show. Guess how many?
40, 800.
No.
6,000. Am I going in the right direction?
Okay, I built it up too much.
Okay, 7, 2.
You audition to 1 or 2 times, and by the third time you pack it in and say, forget it.
Yeah.
You audition 9 times. It's persistence. Just like in sales,
yeah.
You used to be the GM for an internet company. And there's research that shows that if the sales guy makes 1 call, you get not much. But if you keep calling, it's that 7th call that seems to make the difference. And then the 8th and 9th calls are a little bit more, but if you make at least 7 calls, so the phrase in sales land is the first 7 no's don't count.
Yeah.
So somebody tells you no, so it's that persistence, and of course I was doing that with my job as a GM for this little internet company, and I thought I was having a heart attack, so I went to the doctor, and the doctor said basically. You can keep doing it, but you're not going to be around much longer. So you go to the doctor, you raise your hand. I said, doctor, first when I do this, the doctor says don't do that. So I don't do that anymore. But I'm just taking all of those marketing skills and the stuff that I learned trying to run the company, and now trying to run my own company. And I find out that I have the worst employee in the entire world. This long-haired bearded freak won't. He never gets anything right. So.
I thought you were gonna say Jerry. He's a lazy bum. Some people say he's a dummy.
No, again, Ryan, it's all me. It's just
so you're saying you're the only sentient living person in that room right now?
Well, as far as I know, right? Yeah.
Okay.
but I have a lot of fun, and I'm learning. I'm making tons and tons of mistakes, but I'm having so much fun. This certainly beats corporate America. Because I had short hair, and it was, of course, back then it was brown.
Yeah. You make me think of like post smoking pot George Carlin.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like he's smart enough to get corporate America, but he's also even smarter than that to walk away from it and kind of blast it from a different platform and build your own success that basically fuels you. Like basically you get the most out of your output as opposed to giving it all away to something that doesn't even appreciate it.
Right. Yep. No, it's a good point. And Carlin was absolutely amazing. I'd see him every time I went to Vegas. I'd try to catch him. He was amazing. I took my son, who's now 37, but took him to all these comedy performances and stuff. And we still go to see comedy because you can always learn from other comedians. You can always learn so much in their delivery and their style and Stephen Wright. Some of the Boston comedians are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky. I'm very fortunate that I'm not back in Nebraska with 236 people. It really is a little small town, but I'm very fortunate, and now I get to reinvent myself and become a children's entertainer and musical ventriloquist virtually. To do all this stuff virtually. It's awesome.
So what do people say when you tell them I walked away from corporate America to pursue the ever vital industry of ventriloquism?
They say, well, yeah, you're pretty crazy.
And then you have 7 people around you talk at the same time saying, we're not crazy. We know exactly what we're doing. Me and all 7 of us, we all are very sane.
It wasn't though that I walked away. It was like, I either continue it and die or, do something else. And so it wasn't a hard choice, really. So
no, I mean, so I'm being facetious in a lot of ways because I respect that's such an integrity move. It's such like a noble thing to do, but like the fear of how do I survive? It's just the fear of survival kind of oftentimes kills dreams, like the dreams of our childhood. Like, I want to do creative stuff even if it doesn't pay me. Like, I have a job that luckily when this virus is happening, it's pretty soft. I'm working in marketing, and it gives me the comfort and the flexibility to produce things that I want to do, whether it's music and comedy or this podcast or a variety show. But it's like, if I can get that thing to take off, I'm chasing that. I'm jumping off the cliff and grabbing that hot air balloon. But the thing is like, what if that hot air balloon, it's not actually full of helium. It's full of, just regular old air.
But as Rachel Dratch from Burlington, Massachusetts, Saturday Night Live fame years ago, but now she's coming back and doing all the. I think she was doing Amy Klobuchar, but always Amy. Rachel Dratch in Burlington, Massachusetts, in her book, she said, always follow your dream, unless you suck.
Right.
So, and I am so blessed and to be able to do this, and to have great coaches and mentors that are willing to spend time with me. I pay them money, but but they're extremely helpful, and the ventriloquist community, unlike the magician community, we have a convention every year in July. I don't know if we're going to have it this year, but I paid for the ticket and I paid for the airfare already, so hopefully they will have it. But we all get together, and there's 700 ventriloquists walking around with their dummies, and so it's pretty awesome. But the ventriloquist community is very helpful and very they'll tell you the truth, which is most friends kind of couch it, and don't tell you, you really suck, but they'll tell you the truth. They'll say what you did good and tell you what you did bad. I'm told that the magician community, they want to hide all their tricks, and they don't want to show they don't want to share their skills and stuff because they want to just have it be them.
Yeah.
But the ventriloquist community is really a pretty unique community, and I'm looking forward to going out to this to the convention again in July. The first time I performed there, I was up on stage in front of 700 ventriloquists, and then afterwards they critique you. There's 4 judges lined up, and in front of all these other people, they critique what you did. If I had known that I was going to get critiqued, I would have never done it. But it was very constructive criticism, and you look back and you play the tape again, you listen to it over and over, and you go, yeah, they're right. Yeah, I do that. No, I should move the puppet forward. He's not positioned right. He should be in more. They have all these great ideas and suggestions. So they just want to help you and help you become better, and that's the goal.
So I think the word is like constructive criticism they offer you.
Yeah.
Which makes you better, and if you're willing to listen to it, then you do get better, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of hard not to listen to 4 judges in front of you.
Yeah.
But it was awesome, and just the opportunity to do that. And then I told one of the guys, I said, I found out I was going to perform because I was my first year there, and I was selected. It's a long story, but anyway. So I found out I was going to perform. I didn't sleep for like 24 hours. I was so nervous, And then I got up there, and I was just so nervous, and I said I was sweating and the whole bit, and they said, yeah, Kevin, but this is the best crowd you'll ever perform for because they're so forgiving, but it's also the worst crowd because they know they can pick up everything you do wrong. They know. So you get the best and the worst, but they're honest, and they tell you how to improve. And if we all had that, my word, it was amazing. For America, I didn't get that. It was always one up and ship and trying to get more money for my employees and everything. And now it's just me and a bunch of dummies. So
that's awesome. Well, I think we've reached our threshold as far as time goes. I'd love to have you back on here again if you wanted to do this, because this is such a...
That'd be awesome. Guys, should we do it again? Yeah, let's do it again. I don't want to do it.
Who's that?
I want to do it. Okay. So I guess, they want to do it. Just one guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the only ventriloquist I know, and I think maybe you've
So therefore, I would have stopped you right there. So therefore, I'm the best ventriloquist.
By default. Yes, you are all the superlatives of ventriloquist I know. and I'm wondering if there's many other ventriloquists you're like, hey, like you have some other ventriloquist tied up somewhere and you're like, I'm going to take all the gigs in this town. I know all these people are trying to get into the ventriloquist racket, and I'm going to make sure I get out ahead of this thing. I think there's still some of that cutthroat corporate America in you. You're like, like, no, it's just me and Jerry and all the other of us. Let's.
But, there's just a point on that. If there's I have a lawyer friend of mine, and he told me if you're the only lawyer in town, you get a certain amount of business. But if another lawyer comes in, you think, oh my word, I'm going to have to share all my gigs and everything else and stop it. And the answer is no, because now they have legitimized your profession, and another lawyer comes in. He said, there's enough work to go around. There's enough work. And when one of my mentors said, I said, how do you be a children's entertainer? And he said, there's work out there, but you got to chase it. So you have to make the calls. You got to get on the phone. You got to do the calls and stuff. And right now, I can't call anybody because nobody knows when the heck they're going to open again. So it's just time to.
Well, on the bright side, if your ventriloquist convention doesn't open up, if they have to do, if the ventriloquist can't show up in person, I'm sure they can throw their voice still. So at least they have the best. Your dummies don't like.
I'm talking too much. I need to shut up. I'm sorry.
Well, let's do this again, but before we go, let's try to scoop you up some business. So you're offering pro bono ventriloquism to seniors and young people. You're offering these singing telegrams.
I think the word. I don't understand the word pro bono. I think it means free. In other words, yes, I'm not charging any money. I do it all for free. Because I don't want to charge anybody. A lot of people have lost their jobs. I'm not going to charge money. I have some of my competition, children's entertainers. They're charging money and tip jars and all that stuff. I don't want to do any of that. Yeah. It's just free. It gives me the chance to work on my act virtually to figure out what works and what doesn't work. It's just like when I started ventriloquism. I went to a ton of open mics, and that's how I learned. So I'm going to just do this for free. And I'm not that good, so you get what you pay for. But so I'll do birthday parties virtually for children 12 and under, and for seniors. The people in between, I have to limit it somehow. I got to be careful because somebody when I was Santa Claus, I'm sorry, never mind. Anyway, the point is, I'm not Santa Claus until December.
That's a one-day-a-year gig.
The hair is real. The long hair is real. The silver length hair is real. The beard is real. The only thing fake is my belly, but apparently I'm working on that.
Yeah. I think you're hiding some presents under the tree.
Anyway, the point is #Driscoll production. #Driscoll, like the strawberries, only no relation, no money either.
And no migrant farm or slave labor like the Berry organization. You're the better Driscoll.
Maybe the puppets. I don't know.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, they're working for free. I think they have a grudge against you. They might have a strike.
But I split all the profits with them. Half of zero. So
that seems to be a good amount of money.
Party for children 12 and under in New England. I can't do people in California or whatever. Well, Nebraska, because that's where I'm from. So I do those. But so it's just if they're in New England and there's a senior in an assisted living facility or a assisted living or a nursing home or something like that, as long as there's some person that has some idea what an iPhone is and how to turn it and point the camera, because you want to be able to see the person you're presenting to.
Sure.
And so birthdays for seniors in facilities where there's some technology, and for children 12 and under, it's all free. And I get to learn stuff, and it's just #Driscoll Productions, or if that's too complicated, DriscollProductions.com.
I'm sure, hopefully, the listening audience has opposable thumbs. and ears to put those things together. I mean, I'm willing to go out to each and every one of these listeners' houses. There might only be 4 of them, so that might not be too hard. But I'll type in there. I'll go to their computers and I'll type those words in there for them. If I have to do all the work to get them there, I'm willing to get you some business. We want to get you some work. These are trying times for comics, musicians, artists of all types, but the unsung hero is the Ventriloquist, which Boston doesn't know much about, but hopefully this podcast will help put you on the map.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sincerely appreciate it.
It was truly my pleasure, Kevin, to have you on, and hopefully get you back on here and all your dummy friends. All right, Kevin. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye. That was Kevin Driscoll with the Puppet Clan. Well, we've reached the end of our show. That was a lot of fun talking to a ventriloquist. I'm sure not many people are aware that Boston has a ventriloquism scene. We know about the music scene, we know about the comedy scene, but Kevin is out there with his dummies taking this town by storm. So last thing we're going to do here is send us out on a high note with a song that we call Fare Thee Well. I hope everybody liked the show. There was going to be some peripheral video, but I closed the Skype windows and that ended that option. So by default, we need to do this again with these same guests, and now we have practice under our belt. So that's something to look forward to. Having these folks come back in a visual form, so your theater of the mind can fill you with as much glee as I received when I was witnessing this puppet act face to face. I was the only one who got to enjoy that on a visual basis, but if you want to receive that same joy that put me back into a state of glee that I haven't felt since I was a child, you're gonna have to stay tuned. You're gonna have to find Kevin Driscoll out there. Driscoll Productions. You're gonna have to go find that delightful either G or R rated type of puppet humor. So here's a song. If you've ever seen a Coen Brothers movie, this is a song that appears in one of them. That was the song. Hope you liked it. I call this episode Rough Draft. Living our rough drafts. We're all just trying shit and trying to get better. I had waves like rollers. I fly to the river, to the one I love. Now farewell, my honey. That's it for the show, everybody. I thank you for staying present. I thank you for listening to the Human Variety Hour podcast. We will be back again next Friday, 7 p.m., hopefully with less mistakes, but also kind of, hopefully with more mistakes, because that's what makes us human. Good night, everybody.
The